Coming up on this week's show, the crew's here to break down the Thunder's defense.
Ibaka waiting in the weeds, long pass through, touchdown Reds! That's some vicious basketball right there.
We head to Tulsa to see what these 66ers are working on.
Each game we're getting better. All of us are getting better as a unit and individually.
And we'll check out a recent Thunder Fit clinic. It's all coming your way starting right now on Thunder Insider. Welcome into this week's show. Leslie McCaslin joined as always by Brian Davis and Grant Long on a special Friday the 13th. It seems a little weird to have a Friday the 13th in the middle of December. Any scary movie watching on your plate?
The Shining is probably mine. Jack Nicholson was just here's Johnny. And I've never read. I read the book too, and I've never read another Stephen King novel.
Because of the after effects of a scary movie, I don't watch scary movies at all. I don't deal with them at all. I'm just turning the channel.
In the middle of Christmas, something about that just seems wrong. Well, nothing scary we're going to talk about on today's show, except for maybe that Thunder defense has been a little scary to opposing teams. I'll stop at some point. But let's talk about that Thunder defense. In the last month, we've really seen this group improve. They're second in the league in opponent field goal percentage. How have you seen them change over the last month, Grant?
Well, first of all, let's talk about, I had a conversation with Kendrick Perkins, and I asked him that same question, and he said, that at maybe a week or two ago, there were maybe two guys communicating defensively. Now there's five guys on the floor communicating, chatting it up, and letting people know, hey, I got your help set up, got the baseline cut off. That type of communication makes you feel like you're very secure on the defensive end. So I think what they've been able to do outside of the rebounding, number one in the NBA rebounding, and we know that that's a big part of defense, but to be able to contain your man on the perimeter, get to those open shooters on the perimeter, I think that's a big part of how they're successful on the defense.
I listened to that conversation, and Perk at one point said we got 5 or 6 guys, and he caught himself, but what he meant was it's not only all 5 men on the floor, it's people on the bench as well, helping out, calling out coverages, things like that. I'll tell you what, I boil this down, it's an all hands on deck kind of affair. I look at the 3-game road trip, Sac, Portland, New Orleans, and then you add the Indiana game into that. The opposing guards, with Portland's guards or New Orleans' guards shooting 50%, the opposing guards in those 4 games shooting 33%. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And that interior defense has been really solid of Kendrick Perkins and Serge Ibaka, especially going up. You mentioned that Indiana game against Roy Hibbert. They have been put to the test in the last couple of weeks. Why have they been so good?
Well, I think a big part of it, too, going back to the guard thing, is that everybody's getting involved. Even the guards are getting down low and disrupting the other guy's offensive flow. Cephalosha and Westbrook come right to mind. And don't forget the bench.
I think also a lot of motivation behind that. Remember, this team is 10-0 at home. That's a lot of fuel to continue to get better. And if this team is going to get better, it's going to happen on the defensive end. We already know about their offensive prowess, but teams generally are going to get better defensively, and right now the Thunder are making that leap to the next level. Although it's very early in the season, they're getting better.
And the defense triggers the offense. You look at what the Thunder's been doing, scoring on the fast break, and against Indiana. You want to talk about a ridiculous number. What was it, 23 out of 29, the Thunder in the paint, because they were getting runouts and odd man situations going down the floor. So it's really working at both ends.
Well, it seems like we all keep pointing to that Pacers game because that was probably one of the most complete games, don't you think, Grant, that they've played this season?
Oh, no question about it. I thought it was a complete, total team effort. I thought we talked about the frontline players of the Thunder. I thought they did a great job on David West and Roy Hibbert and even Louis Scola coming in off the bench, who's been a very productive piece for them. But I thought the frontline players for the Thunder, they rebounded, they played solid post defense, and made it very uncomfortable for the frontline players of the Pacers.
To me, it goes back to the second quarter of the New Orleans game. The Pelicans shot about 50% in the first quarter, and after that, the Thunder, it was almost like somebody threw a switch, Leslie. And the word ferocious, I used it during the broadcast that night, and against the Pelicans in quarters 2, 3, and 4, and then all night long against the Pacers, the Thunder was absolutely ferocious.
And you go back to the Pacer game, what was nice about that is the Pacers have a team that you have to be locked in individually. As much as we talk about their team defense, the Pacers have guys at each position that you have to be responsible for. So I thought it was a really good job of man-to-man defense in that Pacer game.
Well, let's hear from the team on their recent defense success, starting with their anchor, Kendrick Perkins.
We're making the emphasis on playing great defense. I think from top to bottom, we're doing a great job of communicating. You know, where it used to be 1 or 2 guys communicating, now you could hear 5 or 6 voices.
It's about being mature. You know, we figured out, you know, why we're successful. And defensively, you know, we all locked in and covering for each other. That's when we were successful.
It just takes us, you know, being willing to do it. I think every night when we come, the way we started the game, you know, and you know, one guy feeds off of the next one, and we feed off the building energy, and it's a beautiful thing.
Ahead on Thunder Insider.
Reggie, to me, is one of the best guys in the NBA at finishing in traffic at the rim. He does it so well, so regularly, and I think he's starting to believe in himself, but his teammates are really pushing him to get out there and make things happen.